Welcome to our webinar, Caught in the Middle, Leading with Trust in Times of Stress. I'm Noelle Michaelenko, CEO of Trusted Advisor Associates, and I'm very happy to have you all joining us today. As people are coming in, we'll continue to admit folks. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited about this webinar this morning with Lisa McArthur, our delivery associate in Toronto. Today, we're going to talk about Caught in the Middle, Leading with Trust in Times of Stress. We'll talk about what's different about trust for leaders and how you can align your intentions and actions with some specific tips using the trust equation and 8 trust building actions that you can take right now. What you can expect in the webinar today, Lisa, go ahead. The webinar is being recorded. You'll receive links to the recording, additional resources, and a link to the presentation within 24 hours of the presentation. So sometime today or tomorrow, you'll receive that email. The presentation today with Lisa will be 30 minutes long, and then we'll have 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So as you're going through the presentation, if something comes up and you have a question, go ahead and enter it into the chat. You don't have to remember it for the next half hour, and we'll capture all the questions in the chat as they come in. Turn your camera on if you're game. We'd love to see everybody. We do use polling, chat, and the annotation features throughout, so please engage with us throughout this conversation. If there's too much background noise, we may choose to mute everybody who's come in. And then we'll take you off mute, or we'll invite you to come off mute, or you can take yourself off mute during the question and answers. So most of all, we hope that you enjoy this presentation with Lisa. A little bit of background about Trusted Advisor Associates. We've been working with professionals like you for over 20 years now, helping professionals grow stronger trust relationships. Our work is founded in the 3 books that you see here. The Trusted Advisor, initially published in 2000, and our 20th anniversary edition was just released earlier this year. We also have Trust-Based Selling and the Trusted Advisor Field Book. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa McArthur to introduce herself to you and get started. Lisa.
Hi there. So I'm Lisa McArthur. Joining you today from Southampton, Ontario, very small little community on the shores of Lake Huron. This is my 5th year working with Trusted Advisor Associates, and have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. I've got over 20, reasonable number, over 20 years working in different professional roles. Come from technology companies, professional services companies, sales, delivery, all sorts of various roles. Have had the opportunity to experience lots of teams, some really wonderful ones and some not so wonderful ones, and have learned a few lessons from each one of those experiences. I am an ICF-ACC certified coach, and I spend most of my time now working more as a coach than a consultant, trying to help others lead the teams that they're working with. And I thought I'd just share my favorite Charlie Green quote, "Get off your ass." And I thought it was particularly relevant to our conversation today. So those of you who have heard from Charlie in the before, that might ring a few familiar bells. So I thought, we all know trust is a good thing. Pick up any management book around teams, and trust, psychological safety are there. We know trust can deliver hard results to the bottom line. It really improves employee engagement. Lots of different studies that all point to, trust is a wonderful thing for business and has tangible results. But we also know it's hard. And we also know that, you look at why people leave firms, and it's the leader that they work for, the teams that they're part of. So if we know that trust is so positive, why is it so hard? So really interested if each of you could just share some of your thoughts on what is different for leaders around building trust and what makes it so hard. Like Mara's comment, they need to let go. That's very relevant to what we're going to talk about today. Andrea, it can feel extra risky to be vulnerable. Definitely, and especially right now. I feel I have to be right. It can be quite political. Absolutely. The leader does not give respect. That's an interesting one. Vulnerability and humility are not always easy. Great observation. And leading from trust rather than fear. Again, I think another really great observation that I think we'll spend a little bit of time on. Tough to be trusting sometimes. It really is. Some people expect John Wayne, which is not how trust gets built. I love that. So when I think about leaders, I really think as a leader, you've got three different dimensions that you've got to balance. You've got to manage yourself. You've got to manage, how are you showing up? You've got to manage your one-on-one interactions with people on your team, as well as peers and others in your broader organization. As a leader, you have a strong role to play in terms of how you show up and the tone, the example, the way that you communicate with your team. And then you've got your organization. How are you showing up? Are you being flexible? Are you breaking down silos? All of those broader things that people talk about. When you're trying to manage three very distinct, they're very unique, very distinct perspectives, they can often be in conflict, right? So it's a stressful time. I've got all this stuff that I'm trying to manage. I'm getting hounded for results. They tell me, my boss tells me that he trusts me, but I'm getting spreadsheeted to death. All of those things, it can really feel for leaders like they really get stuck in the middle. Hence this person, going like this in the middle. It can be really challenging to manage the inherent contradictions between each one of those three dimensions. So I just want to see where are the biggest stressors for you. So I'm going to get you to annotate, and just to make sure, so go to the top of your screen, make sure you've got your Zoom drop-down menu. You'll see a little pencil with annotate underneath it. Select annotate and then select stamp. You'll see stamp with the check mark, and then you can just place that stamp anywhere on this slide that you would like. So I want you to place that stamp where you're feeling the stress for you. What's creating the most stress for you? We've got lots around the organization, but good representation for self and team at the same time. I like keep kind of on that continuum, which I think is very real for most of us. So I think what's important to think about here is, what does that stress actually do to us? So if we think about the trust equation, when our stress levels go up, so does our self-orientation. We get more focused on what we need, what's going on with us. How do I manage my stress? If you think some people are going to get in, they might start micromanaging. Some people are going to, pull back. I might take work myself. I might get angry or frustrated, a little bit more triggered than I normally would be. It's usually all about me. I'm not thinking about others when I'm stressed. I'm thinking about, what do I need to do so that I can feel better and that I can find a way and work through this. We know from the trust equation that when that self-orientation goes up, overall trust levels are going to go down, because that self-orientation really impacts how others see all of those things in the numerator of our trust equation. So I want you to think about how this can play out as a leader. It typically shows up because our words and our actions don't align. So we may say one thing to our team, but we do something very different. So I say I trust my team to execute, but I constantly get in the weeds. I may say I trust my team to do the right thing, but I don't always tell them the whole story. I may say I trust my team to make good decisions, but I second guess them. Or I trust my team to build strong relationships, but I got to attend all of those stakeholder meetings. So what happens there is what we're saying as a leader doesn't really align with the actions that our stress behaviors are causing. So as a result, our credibility goes down, our reliability goes down, our intimacy goes down. So you've got your self-orientation going up, and you've got all the numerator components going down when those words and actions don't align. So you can imagine the impact that has on the teams. Trust goes down. So I always find as a coach, love self-reflection. So thought I would just take a minute. Think of your own stress reactions, because we all have them. What message do they send to your team? When you're really stressed, what happens? And how might others interpret that? I know for me, when I get stressed, I turtle. I'm, that introvert. I will pull back. I will pull things, and I will just try to plow through. I don't want to stress my team out, so I'll, take on that work. Probably sends the message to my teams that sometimes, I don't trust the work that they do because I'm going to do it myself. So what might your actions be telling your teams when you're under stress? I can't count on you. Don't have faith in you. I love that. I'm overwhelmed. Don't bother me with stuff today. I love that one, Mara. I can relate.
Hello? Yes.
So I just want us to kind of take that pause and think about what that implication can be for the teams. But I'm going to offer you a bit of a mindset shift. So as a leader, we started our journey through our organizations based on what we do, our technical, our functional expertise. We were really good at what we do. We got promoted. But as a leader, I want you to shift your mindset. It's not around what I do, but it's actually around how my behavior enables others. How do I make sure that my team achieves what my team needs to achieve, not about me? If you can make that shift in your mindset, the self-orientation comes pretty naturally. So if I can define my success as a leader based on how my behavior as a leader empowers and enables others, a lot of my behaviors are going to flow naturally. I wanted to offer a few tips, and you'll see these very closely resemble the trust equation. So the first one, as a leader, be clear on how your actions and messages are aligned. When we're not aligned, it goes to the core of reliability. People aren't going to know what to expect if we say one thing and do another. So really try and pay attention. Secondly, communicate clearly, openly, and with transparency. Even when you don't know the answers, the leader, sometimes you might not be able to share everything. Acknowledge it. And if I don't know what's going to happen, COVID has created a whole lot of uncertainty for all of us. Acknowledge it, because people know the uncertainties out there. Focus on listening, empathy, and creating safety. Really double down on that intimacy component. A little bit of empathy can go a really long way. And then lastly, accept and acknowledge your own stressors, because that's key to really helping you manage and control that self-orientation. And I'm just going to offer you a bonus tip. Ask for and accept feedback from your team. If you're asking your team for feedback and accepting it, especially the constructive feedback when they give it to you, you're really creating that safety within the environment. Goes a long way on empathy, goes a long way to lower your self-orientation. And it sets the tone that models that behavior for others. You create that safety.
Hey, Lisa. Oops. Before you move on, Lisa, A quick question for you. I love these tips that you've brought forward for leaders. Can you connect it a little more closely with how this helps leaders align what they say and what they do?
Sure. Well, so the first one is around being aware. If I communicate clearly and openly, my team understands what I'm trying to say. My team understands the pressures. If I can have that conversation that says, I understand that there's a lot of challenges right now. I need this information to communicate up. There's a bit of a fire drill right now. I need your help and support. You know, as a team member, think about how you might receive that request where I understand the why versus here's a spreadsheet, fill it out. Focusing on listening, empathy, and creating safety. If I can, I'm going to demonstrate empathy. I'm going to create that ability to have more of those direct conversations. If I understand where my team members are, if I can understand what they're concerned about, I can meet them in the moment. And I have to, if I'm doing that, I'm going back to that mindset shift. I'm focusing on my behavior enables them. So my focus is on them, not me. I'm not getting all up in my head. And then managing and acknowledging my own stressors. At least if I can communicate, I might be able to tell people, okay, I'm getting a little stressed here. I'm probably getting a little too far into the weeds. If I can acknowledge it, I can tell them, tell me when I'm getting too far into the weeds, and create that type of a dialogue with my team so they can say, Lisa, I got it, back off, right? Make it a little bit safer for them. When I can acknowledge them to my team, they can call me on it when I get there.
I love what you said about that, and thank you for diving a little deeper. One of the hidden benefits of this that came to mind while you were talking through this is that doing all of these things also enables the team to have more empathy for you, right?
Yeah.
So as leaders, if I'm behaving in a way like my stress tends to have me go a little autocratic, I just start giving orders and I start taking back things that I had delegated to someone else. And so that behavior is so out of touch with what I've said, which is, I trust you to do this, as you point out. If I'm clear about all that and I'm open about my vulnerabilities in that sense, then somebody can say, oh, she's grabbing something back from me. Rather than thinking it's all about them, they might be curious and say, wow, she must be stressed.
Right.
And so I love the fact that it's a two-way street. It's a mutual creation of trust and empathy.
Yeah, and I think that comment around intention, Noelle, I think is really appropriate. When, if I know what's going on, it's easier for me to assume positive intention. So if I can see your behaviors and I go, oh, Noelle is stressed, then I can understand it's about you and where you are. If I don't have that understanding, I'm going to be more likely to assume a negative intention. Oh, well, Noelle doesn't think I can do it. Or she doesn't really trust me. She doesn't think I've got the skills. So I go more to a negative intention that becomes more about me than thinking around that positive intention and recognizing that you might be in a place of stress.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to share a couple of tips. So, you know, if you think of that diagram, self, team, and organization, a leader's role in managing teams. So also wanted to share some tips specifically for engaging in that team and the team dynamic. So the first one, this really relates to the why the team exists. Ensure the whole team understands the team's purpose and values. It's a good way to make sure everybody's in the boat and you're all rowing the same way, that everybody's actions are going to be aligned. My second point here is around clearly defining and being transparent around expectations, roles, and accountabilities for all team members. If roles are ambiguous between team members, you're going to have people running all over. Think of a sports team. A well-oiled sports team, everybody plays their position. and they trust each other to do whatever that position entails they need to do. I know that the goalie is going to stop the ball or the puck or whatever, pick your team. Same type of thing in a business team, right? If you know, I know Noelle has got this and I trust her, she's going to do that. Everybody on the team has a similar expectation. They don't start second guessing, or you don't start overlapping, which can create that conflict. So take that time to make sure that the what you do, your actions, how people are going to get work done is clearly and well understood. Number 3, really focusing on that concept of intimacy at the team level. Create a safe space for the tough stuff at the team level by focusing on learning from, not calling out mistakes. Stuff's going to happen, and as a leader, if you tend to immediately start to lay blame, your team's not going to really tell you what's actually going on. If you can seize those opportunities as learning, you know, okay, that assumption we made wasn't really true. What can we learn from it? What do we need to do together? What support do different team members need? Focus on the learning, not calling out. Secondly, plan for what you'll do when stuff happens, because stuff's always going to happen. If as a team you can decide what you're going to do when there's, you know, something unpredictable happens, the team knows how to respond. The team knows how to react. And then lastly, model healthy conflict as a team leader. It's really important that the team knows how to have those conversations that might be a bit challenging, and be sure to nip anything that crosses that line into bad behavior or bullying immediately, so that you can maintain that tone of safety for everybody on the team. And lastly, really focus on lowering that self-orientation. Create a culture of appreciation and acknowledge all contributions from all team members. If you can create that sense of gratitude across the team, every team member can feel valued. Every team member can feel like they contribute. They're going to want to contribute and commit more to the team. So we've talked around a lot of different things today, different elements of the trust equation, different elements of how leaders can impact trust. Really interested in what your biggest takeaway from today is. You've got the alignment between what I say and what I do, the importance of acknowledging my own stressors and being honest with my team when I'm stressed. Connection between stress and how I might impact trust-reducing behaviors. So I'm going to ask that you know, kind of continue to give your thoughts on those takeaways, but really wanted to open the floor up to everybody on the call and see what questions we might have.
So Lisa, there was a question that came in early on from Mara, and Mara, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm searching back to find it, but she was making a connection between, here we go, vulnerability-based trust from Lencioni, right? The concept that vulnerability-based trust is a leader's willingness without provocation to demonstrate vulnerability, to admit mistakes, share stories of their own failures, and kind of rise other team members up when they've been superior, right? That's kind of it in a nutshell. So Mara's just asking, is leadership in times of stress connected to, or how do the trusted advisor concepts link with Lencioni's definition? Do you want to take a stab at that, Lisa?
Sure. I think it's a great question, Mara. Thanks very much. So if I think around leadership and that concept of vulnerability, for me, that vulnerability goes directly to some of that self-orientation and that intimacy in terms of that willingness to take a risk. So if I'm going to be vulnerable around, what might be hard for me, or where some of my challenges are, or some of those learnings, those things that I didn't do well in the past, one, I have to really lower my self-orientation to share those things. And it's a risk. I'm taking a risk. So as a leader, if I'm taking a risk, hopefully from in terms of building trust, that's going to encourage you to take a risk back. So I think from a trust equation, trust as a leader perspective, I think it's, I don't want to say table stakes, but I'm pretty close there, and you can look at others like Brene Brown. Vulnerability is one of her core dimensions of being a good leader, focuses a lot on that and dare to lead. I think it's really what allows our team members to be vulnerable back to us, to admit when maybe they don't know what they're doing or when there's some stress. So for me, I do think it is one of those critical components for being able to build trust as a leader. Not always easy, though.
Definitely not. There's another question in here from Purna Singla. How do you hold care and accountability at the same time?
Well, that's a great question. I really like that question, Purna. Thank you. So care and accountability. So holding people accountable does not necessarily imply that you need to not be mindful of what that person needs or what they might be going through at a certain point in time. That accountability sets expectations. And here's what I'm expecting from you. Now, what happens if that team member can't meet those expectations? If you've got a safe place, that team member can make those call outs up front. I can say, I've got this going on. Individual I work with lost both parents through this whole pandemic. Can you imagine what that person is going through and not being able to be there? Their ability to meet their work expectations at that particular point in time kind of went out the window. If I have a safe place, if I can create that trust with them, they can acknowledge what's going on and I can meet them where they are. If I don't create that ability or that feeling that that person can be safe, they may not tell me. And I might not find out till a project has gone sideways that this person wasn't paying attention to the things that they needed to pay attention to. They didn't ask for help. They couldn't ask for help if I don't, demonstrate and show them that care. So I think that accountability is setting the expectations, and having the ability to hold people accountable means you might have to have some difficult conversations, but that doesn't mean that they need to be unfeeling or that they need to be uncaring. I think that's part of that challenge, that dilemma as a leader is really listening to and understanding what's realistic. What can people do? I know for me as a leader, I would really like to know if I can't deliver on something, tell me now. Don't tell me after that time has passed, because if you tell me now, I can do something about it. We can reset expectations. We can realign what we're going to do. We've got options. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep, Prenra said, love your perspective on this. Thanks, Lisa.
Mara, I can see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. We work with Agile Teams, and so on Agile Teams, sort of a Scrum Master might be considered a leader. They're a servant leader, so it really fits with this kind of place, making a safe space to fail and learn and so forth. But I've been reflecting on the times of stress now in the COVID world. if they're fearing their jobs as companies, reduce costs and things,
Yep.
then I've noticed them wanting to push the team. And so I think it's really good that we teach this to leaders everywhere, that what's happening actually is their S is going up because they're worried about their jobs, and so they're pushing the team, which means it's not safe to fail and to say, I can't manage extra work.
Yeah.
For example.
And as a leader, what happens if, that S goes up and people leave? Right? There's I know some of those teams and those agile teams, there's a lot of people that are in short supply. It's easy for them. They've got lots of options, right? So as a leader, how do I make sure I keep my people engaged? So it can be tricky. And I noticed your comment in the chat around that concept of everybody holding each other accountable. And I think that's really important. If I can model it as a leader, if I can set clear expectations and, I know what Noelle's accountable for and I know what I'm accountable for, I can go have that conversation with her, right? In terms of who's doing what, and are we moving forward, and are we doing what it is that we need to do? And again, accountability doesn't have to be uncaring. I can hold somebody accountable in a way that's very factual, that talks around the specific situation and the impact of what's going on. It doesn't have to go to I'm being mean and uncaring. Any other thoughts or questions? I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. There's some great themes coming up here.
Lisa, I just wanted to call back to the tips that you gave for leaders. And I noticed, we talked earlier about the fact that self-orientation tends to get high, and that can detract from trust in all the different areas. It ends up decreasing your credibility and your reliability and your intimacy. And I noticed that the tips that you gave out for leaders all have something to do with increasing those top numerator components of credibility, right? Credibility is about words. It's what you say and how you say it.
Yeah.
And so don't let your self-orientation get in the way of your credibility, reliability, following through, being dependable. And I wanted to ask you about that reliability aspect in particular. When things get uncomfortable and a leader is not acting in a way that's expected, like how does that impact their reliability, and what can they do to recover reliability?
Yeah, so reliability, right? We've got I do what I say I'm going to do, and I do it consistently and predictably. So as a leader, if I've got a lot of good days and bad days, one day I show up and I'm the really empathetic Lisa, and I'm managing my stress and all is great. And then the next day you come into my office and I rip your head off. That creates this whole sense of unpredictability. People don't know what to expect. They can't reliably expect the same and consistent experience with me. So they're going to start modifying their behavior. Is Lisa having a good day or a bad day? Right? I'm only going to go talk to her. She's having a good day. So it is how you can manage that consistently over time. Now, what happens if you really do have a bad day? And, let's face it, we all do. Nobody's perfect. For me, my suggestion would be own it. Right? If I have a team meeting and I lose it, I'm going to go back to my team and I'm going to say, look, guys, there was a lot going on. And if I can get into it, I'll get into it. I always advocate for transparency. I had a really bad day and I didn't behave the way that I wanted to, because then at least if I own it, then the team understands that it wasn't necessarily my intention. I can kind of express my intention to be consistent. But what happens if I do that every week? That my unpredictability becomes the pattern. And then I think it's going to have to be more rigorous attention on behalf of me as a leader. right? I can get away with that, you know, mea culpa once or twice. But there is a point where it becomes consistent behavior. And I think as leaders, we have to be really mindful of that. If we find ourselves getting there, then as a leader, you might think around, what help do I need as a leader so that I can maintain that consistency, so that I can show up the way I want to show up for my team. Any other thoughts or questions?
Jeremy has raised his hand.
Oh, Jeremy.
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Today's been great. One of the things that really stuck out to me was just, you know, we work in a pretty high pace, fast environment, management consulting, and, you know, taking care of yourself is something that, you know, I think as a leadership team, we've tried to talk a lot about, but we really struggle with. And it's kind of ironic, right? Because you got to be self-oriented to take care of others. And one thing that, you know, I've at home, it's been, you know, the morning routine has completely shifted. And I know there's a lot of behavior behind having a consistent, you know, morning routine, whether it's working out. Have you folks been around? I think where I'm going is there any examples or things that you've heard of successful individual? I mean, I know some of the basics, but, you know, to kind of start off with, you know, is it working out? Is it getting, you know, avoiding email? I'm just kind of thinking like, how could we start our morning off to give us, you know, the best chance for a successful day, knowing there's many of distractions right now is kind of what I'm curious about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So I'm not sure that there's one size fits all, but I will give a perspective that I've worked through with a lot of my own personal coaching clients. When you have a good day, when you find your energy is high, try to take 5 minutes and reflect on why. What did you do that day? Because for some people, it's the morning routine. For others, it might be that I got out for a walk at lunch, or I actually had time between my Zoom meetings. You know, whatever it might be, reflect on it. What made that day good for you? And when you have a really horrible day where you just feel drained at the end of it, kind of think about that too. What are the real energy drainers for you? And if you do that over the course of a few days, weeks, you'll start to see some trends, and you'll start to see where, you know, these are the things that are going to, you know, help me recharge my batteries. These are the things that are really detracting and sending me into that stress behavior. And then really try to create some rigor around how you're going to do that. So if I need to go outside and have a walk at lunch, which is one of my things I discovered is one of my big energy drainers. If I don't get out at lunch, if I go for a walk, it gives me that mental break, and I can walk and all is good. I now have lunch scheduled in my calendar, which after 30 plus years of being in business, I never had that ever, but I have it now because I figured out that's what was going to help me keep me in that positive frame of mind and help me manage my own stress so I don't get into those bad behaviors. I've got some clients, it's an end of day routine. Some it's the morning. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I say I appreciate the awareness. You know, we talk a lot about self-reflection, but I think, again, in that moment or trying to go back from the day specifically, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been great.
And sometimes as leaders, you know, we may really focus on our self-orientation that says, I'm always trying to do stuff for my team. I know my team is stressed. I really want to be that good person, help them out. That can create more stress for us as well. And we may need to become more of an advocate for what I need to help manage my stress. If I'm, you know, working 12-hour days, I may need to advocate to my leaders that say, this is not sustainable, or I'm hitting a point I need to take time. How many of us have actually taken a vacation where we've disconnected, right? Prior to the last, you know, 12 months of world events, many of us might have had a vacation. We may have gone to a beach somewhere or into the wilderness somewhere where it's not so convenient to connect. And we're not doing it. We're not recharging our batteries. So sometimes we just may need to manage our own stress. Put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Take care of what you need and really be honest with it.
Great. Lisa, I think we have time. If there's one more question, we could sneak it in. Any more questions? All right, then. We are going to keep to our promise to be finished by 1:45. Lisa, if you could just move forward. We do have a quick question. Oh, first we have resources. All of these resources are available for you for free. Most of them. The Trusted Advisor Academy is our online learning center. I do want to point out that our next webinar is on May 11th. Andrea Howe will be presenting on how to influence a skeptical audience. 3 simple steps. I've heard Andrea talk about this a lot. It is a great webinar, and I encourage you to be here for her on May 11th. And then one quick question for you all before you go. Super simple. Was this webinar helpful to you today? Vicki, go ahead and launch that poll. We're going to do it as a quick poll, and just take a minute and let us know how valuable you found this webinar, please. We'll leave this up for 10 more seconds. For those of you who are frantically looking for your button to vote. All right. Thank you all very much. With that, we've completed our webinar for this month, and I look forward to seeing you all next month on May 11th when we talk about influencing a skeptical audience. Take care, everybody, and have a fantastic day, afternoon, evening.
Bye, everyone.